Fiscal Court to order. I'll ask that you join me in a word of prayer, and after that we'll have the pledge to the flag. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we just come before you today to thank you for this day that you've given us. Lord, to thank you for the many blessings in life. But Lord, most of all, the greatest blessing that we're able to have salvation through your Son, Jesus Christ. We thank you most for that. Lord, we just ask you to be with us in this meeting, that the things we do, the things with decisions we make, are the things that are in the best interest of our community and that are right and pleasing in your sight. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Jada, you're first up. We get the presentation of the...
Looking good. The sheriff originally signed for $18.1 million, and if you look on your portal on your sheet, follow that over, we had a few additional bills and the exonerations. The exonerations are for anybody over 65 or they qualify with a disability. That gives them a little bit of a credit on their tax bill, so you'll see the net charges for the county was $1.8 million. So follow that over. We were just over 98% collected, which is a pretty good year. That left you $25,000 outstanding. So that's not bad for a complete year of tax collections. So the state did find, this was a new system for us this year. They found a few reporting discrepancies. So the county is expected to get probably a couple more $100. Not a lot, but just a couple more $100. We are looking at that. We're working with IT to get those straightened out so that the next year we're not going to have those same discrepancies. All in all, this was really a really good tax year. There was no big hiccups or anything, so that's a good thing, and we're looking for an even better year for 2024. Now, to move on and be able to collect for 2024, we have to obtain the quietus from the state. They haven't already done their audit. I'm qualified for the quietus, provided that fiscal court accepts this settlement pending the other portion of the audit. So I'm just asking fiscal court to accept this settlement in that status.
Gentlemen, do any of you have a question?
This is on a new, I hadn't seen it quite laid out.
Yeah,
like
this is our new system.
What is that? Ag product not at plant?
The what?
The very top one, it says, is that ag product not at plant?
Uh-huh.
What is that?
That would be a question for maybe Austin or for Allison. These are all, that's a state-only type thing. Yeah.
So none of y'all gonna answer my question.
Not for these classifications.
I've just never seen that line on there. I didn't
This
know.
system actually breaks down every taxing category.
Okay.
So we can see exactly what, because when we get the official receipt, all the categories are broken down and we see exactly how many tax dollars are going into that
Okay.
category. Like I said, this is a state-only, one of the state-onlys in, I think, county and school that get this. So.
I mean, all the rest of these lines kind of make you good store to wear, all that I can
Goods,
understand.
yeah, and
But I
yeah.
just didn't know what the ag product not at plant.
So.
I'll ask Allison.
Yeah. You might have it on some of your tax bills. You might want to know what that is.
I don't know, they put so much stuff on tax bills.
Yeah, so.
Gentlemen, are there any other questions? We just need a motion and a second to accept and approve this tax settlement as presented by Ms. Freeman.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty?
Second.
Got a second by Myron. I heard Myron first, Jeff.
Fine.
No other question or discussion?
I have one, accept and approve?
Yes.
Are those the appropriate?
And if you don't mind, Pam, I'll send up a letter for fiscal court to sign so we can get that over to the state since collections are coming up pretty quick.
And authorize you to sign it.
Oh,
Just saying that that fiscal court's approved it and we can go on without the minutes.
Marty, Myron, if y'all are both good, the county attorney just whispered in my ear that y'all need to amend the motion to authorize the county judge to sign any documents that are necessary.
So moved.
You good? All right.
Yeah, fine.
All right. If there's no other question or discussion, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Jada.
Thank you, Jada. Thank you.
Next, Amanda, we have you up next. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. I would like to thank the members of the Fiscal Court for allowing us to be here the day after Labor Day, bright and early at 8:30. I don't know how you all do it, but we thank you for everything that you do to serve our community. I've also brought with me today in the gallery is Mr. Jeff Collins. Mr. Collins is the owner of L&W Properties GP, General Partnership. And he also was able to get here nice and early this morning and was very thankful that we could be heard by this fiscal court this morning. We're here regarding a vote that was taken by the fiscal court on August 6th regarding a request for an ordinance for a rezone of some property that L&W Properties owns. This property is part of the Kentucky-Tennessee Industrial Park. This is an area that I'm sure is familiar to many. It's been an area that's seen some significant growth, which has brought along with it some job creation, as well as an increase in our tax base for both the Simpson County community as well as the Portland community. And what is interesting about this property, and not being from here, I personally find it interesting, is that there's a portion of Simpson County where it goes for a very straight line, and then all of a sudden it doesn't. And we've got this triangle that's carved out, and Magistrate Thurman's nodding his head. I think he knows the story. I'm not sure what got traded. I've heard a couple different things. I've heard, I'll give you part of my state line for some bourbon, or maybe it was moonshine, or something in between. But the long and the short of it is that L&W Properties happens to own some of that property where that divot is. And so they are in the unique position where they own property that is in Tennessee, and then another portion of it is in Kentucky. Now, the majority of it is in Tennessee, and it has all been rezoned to industrial already. There are utilities that are already there on site to service those properties. And so when we get to the Kentucky side, there were about 3 pieces of property originally. Those properties, each of them were less than 10 acres or right at 10 acres. And there had been previous rezones on 2 of them. Those were done, I believe, in February of 22 as well as October of 22. And they were for an agriculture to an I-2 rezone. Those were all both heard by planning and zoning. Again, that is another board that does an excellent job, and they work hard to serve the community as well, and unfortunately give up more of their Tuesday nights than I'd probably ever be willing to do. But they heard both of those rezone requests, passed those unanimously. Those then both went before this fiscal court, and the fiscal court adopted those rezone ordinances unanimously, again, back in 2022. The one that came up most recently on June 4th before the Planning and Zoning Commission, this was for the final piece of property that L&W Properties owns in that area. They are not looking to buy and they're not looking to sell any additional property. What they're doing is they're looking to sell this final piece that they own that's right at about 10 acres. And in order to do that, they were needing to go ahead and finish out this process of getting the rezone from agriculture to I-2. So there was a hearing that was heard on June 4th. Again, Planning and Zoning Commission met. Again, they voted unanimously to approve that recommendation. That recommendation came up to this court. And then at that time, this court went through its usual process. In the time period that I've been working here, and that's been longer than I'd like to think, but right around 10 years, I've never known the fiscal court to take a recommendation from our planning and zoning and not enact what happened. But that is what happened on this occasion. And so what we're here for today is for reconsideration of that August 6th decision, not to grant the rezone that was unanimously recommended by our Planning and Zoning Commission, so that way Mr. Collins can finish out his portion of the show here in Kentucky. It will not be the end of the conversation, though. I think sometimes this is something that I struggle with, is that just because a rezone is complete does not mean that there's no oversight whatsoever moving forward. As a matter of fact, the builder who ends up using this property will have the unique problem of having not one, but actually two entities looking over everything that they do. There would be a development plan that would be done here in Simpson County, which would have to go through various approvals and recommendations. Same thing would have to happen in Portland. And to the extent that we've got any sort of state highways that are at play, the Department of Transportation, both in Kentucky and Tennessee, would also have to weigh in on that to the extent that it is necessary. And so again, our request here today, and why we asked to be heard, was for the reconsideration on that August 6th vote, and so that the ordinance actually could be approved and the rezone granted. And we're hopeful that we can reach that resolution today. I do have Mr. Collins with me this morning, and what I'd like to take an opportunity to do, if it would please the magistrates, is to allow Mr. Collins just to introduce himself, to discuss what his proposal is, and why we're needing to do it now. Would that be all right?
That's fine.
All
Yeah.
right. So, Mr. Collins, if you could please come forward.
Mr. Collins, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for hearing me. I'm Jeff Collins, and I'm the managing partner of L&W Properties, and that's a general partnership made up of just our family. My dad started this years ago, and he put about 4 farms together, and so that park has right at 800 acres in it. There's about 150 acres left. Most of it is on the south side of Eubanks, well, north side of Eubanks Road. But this park, the boundary on the south side is actually the creek. That's where the property line was. And on the north side, it followed Lake Springs Road. And again, she alluded to the fact that the notch in the state line came across. So the previous properties on the east side, there was very little pieces in Kentucky, but they still were able to utilize that for mostly storm retention. Macy's has their own big pond, and the next 2 buildings share another one that's in Kentucky. The next big project was called Arrowhead. It's the piece of property just on the east side of this one. They used the Kentucky portion. They borrowed a lot of their dirt that they built the building out of. There's no structures on the Kentucky side. No one has put any structures on the Kentucky side. It's mostly been storm retention and car parks, maybe some trailer, even storage parks. No one has accessed from the industrial side. They don't have any access to Lake Springs. Again, they would have to come here before they could. They would have to come to, I guess, Simpson County planners.
I think they'd come to planning and zoning, yes.
This particular project, the state line really dips in, so there's just over 10 acres that's in Kentucky. We do know that there's some drainage problems there. That road floods. So I think that this would be an opportunity. This would be the best place for stormwater storage for that project, and I think it could be designed and built big enough to alleviate that problem in with a project that comes. But there's not a project there now. No one has approached me to buy that property yet. It's just available. The last building that we built was Sun Products. I don't know if it was 750,000 square feet. Everything west of that probably had 220 acres in it. So one reason we didn't zone everything all at one time is when we decided to just start selling property, we let people just draw their own line. This is how much I need. It didn't at the time make sense to get the whole piece of Kentucky zoned at that time. But this is the last piece, as I said, of about 800 acres. This is the last 10 acres. I've basically retired. No one else is stepping up, so we're not going to buy any more property. We're not looking to jump across the road, even on Payne Road in the Tennessee side. Again, this is just the last piece. I'll answer any questions that anybody would have.
I've got, my only concern, Mr. Collins, is in looking at the map, it shows a big water retention area. Of course, I live out in that area, close to that area, and it's kind of setting up, it's in actually, the bulk of it's in the state of Tennessee, and I'm just concerned of how is the water going to be released from that retention?
Well, that would be, if somebody came in and went to the trouble to try to make that retention, they would have to have an engineer design it. I mean, if you make the tank big enough, you can release it slow, but it would have to, they would calculate all the water that comes into that area. It might take most of that 10 acres.
Well, of course, you're talking about now a water retention in that 10 acres or on the Kentucky side, correct?
Yes.
What I looked at was a water retention in the Tennessee side. That's all I had reference to was a detention area on the Tennessee side, kind of uphill, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Cal Harris Road floods. We've already had one loss of life on that road, and I just was concerned: are there dry wells being dug in that water retention, or is this water going to be slow released? And actually, just where it's going.
Would that all be things that would be taken up during the development plan process? And so that would be something that Tennessee would review as its development plan, and then Kentucky would review as part of its development plan.
Yes.
And then, as I recall, the general rule, and I think the general law, is that we're not allowed to increase the rate of flow that we currently have. And so whatever the builder ends up putting in either is going to keep conditions as they are or actually improve, but it's not allowed, they're not allowed to make it worse.
And there could be, again, we're dealing with could-be's, because there's no one looking at that piece of property. There's really not a site plan been drawn, but there could be storage on the Tennessee side also, right on the front side, down by Vaughn Drive.
Yeah.
Because that's the next lowest area, so there could be a good-sized retention area there, taking half or a certain portion of the drainage, and then address what's on the back with another, designed retention pond.
Well, there's a farmer out there. Of course, everybody gets concerned, about water, and they've got an area. Of course, I don't think there's any drainage tiles underneath Cal Harris Road. Now, I don't know about Payne Road, but Cal Harris in the state of Kentucky, I don't think there's any drains. So we do have a farm over there that gets flooded just by natural runoff.
The one that's got the
Sinkhole out there,
right?
yeah. And of course, he called me, he was concerned about, is that going to increase? Well, I can't answer that question. I can't answer, and that was my only concern from day one is how the water gets released and where does the water go?
There would definitely be there would be more water, because with these buildings, you've got roof and parks, and that's all going to run fast somewhere. So it's got to just be designed, and that will come again that portion would come to this county before it could be approved. They would have to have all of that in place before they could get a building permit. So,
of course, down, at the corner of Coomer Road, Cal Harris Road, Witt Road, of course, that's the lowest part of that lane.
Right.
And we just want to make certain that we're not the recipients, because this building plus the proposed building plus the proposed parking lot is going to take up shy of 4 million square feet, 3.7 million square feet.
yes.
So we know right now that we're not going to have a lot of surface that's going to be able to absorb that water.
I think if you're referring back to that, there was a drawing that was shown at the planning. That was really just a marketing tool. There's nobody looking at that. as I said at that meeting, there could be 5 small buildings built on this property. The broker I have, he had that drawing made so he could just show a potential buyer, this is what might could happen. But that's not, that's never been to anybody's planning. That's just a drawing, just a flat.
Well, that's all we got, that's
Right.
all I had, just a drawing to go
Yeah.
by. And one other question that I had, will there be any traffic that comes out on Cal Harris Road?
The
From that-
only way that could be, I'm not aware of your codes here. In some places you have to have a way for emergency vehicles to get in. But sometimes they design it where you can only outflow certain ways. But no one else has accessed those roads because everybody knows they're not built for it.
Yeah.
Again, but when it comes, if somebody came in and wanted to build that site that you saw, site plan you saw, that would still have to come here, and if they could just say you're not going to access these roads. They may have to put up a gate that has a lock that the fire department just has a key to. They do that now at the businesses in Portland. It's got a lot of locks that they have a key so they can enter anybody's business. So I didn't want to just say, no, nobody ever will, because I'm not aware of all the codes. I know they don't like cul-de-sacs anymore, even in the housing, because of fire engines maybe not being able to get in. This may have some of the same things.
Was all this discussed at the planning and zoning meetings? Okay.
Mr. Collins, the 2 pieces of property in Kentucky that got the zone change approved in 2022, did you own both of those pieces
Yes.
of property? Does this current piece of property connect to those 2?
Yeah, it was all part of it, and I forgot the
Okay.
name of the man that we bought that piece of property from. He had exotic animals, if that.
I know you don't, I don't know the
Okay, you know where
guy's
it
name,
was.
but I know you-
And one of them that's been approved, there's a large sink, so it's a natural retention area. It didn't even have to build anything. It's probably 12 acres. And one of the front buildings on Vaughn Drive, they run their water all the way to that. And then the next project borrowed dirt off the Kentucky side. They didn't do any retention on it. And then this is the next piece. This is the last 10 acres.
So with that road flooding, as Myron was talking about, and this property has not been, you just showed projection of what could be, the engineers could actually draw this up and actually help
Yes.
that problem and not make that problem worse.
They would have to, because everybody's aware of what's there now. So
Right.
they couldn't add another gallon
Right.
to that
Right.
without addressing that problem.
Well, now, that was my biggest concern. It's already a flood area, and there's no way that
No.
I would have ever.
And that's why those safeguards are in place with requiring that, with having the development plan that Kentucky sees and approves, as well as the one in Tennessee,
So
to
that will
make sure that their
come-
safeguards are there.
After this, we will have to
Yes.
vote on
Right.
this again.
Yes.
They will have to show that this will not.
No, we
I don't think- yeah, I
would
don't-
not vote on
Yeah,
it.
we would, I was going to clarify that, Scott, we would not vote on the development plan,
No.
but any development plan would have to come back to planning and zoning
Right.
for approval, and, it would have to be an engineered plan, and then the people that would be dealing with this would have to review those engineered plans on our side. Our side meaning the FS Planning and Zoning side, and but it would have to meet certain guidelines before they could approve it.
I would agree that if we had water retention in Kentucky, that it probably would help us. But the drawings I looked at a month or so ago, there was no water retention in that particular area.
Yeah, and I wish now that my broker had not released that drawing, because that drawing,
I imagine.
it hasn't been to anybody's planning, not even the Portland one. So, and I can tell you that drawing would get torn all to pieces once it went to planning. This
But you
is
can
just
see
showing,
why we was concerned
here's a
about
building,
that.
here's where could be some parking, here's where some retention could be, here's where a road might go out onto one of these side streets. But nobody is going to build that building right now. Nobody has even seen that drawing because we don't have the approvals for one.
It's a lot different when a marketing guy draws a plan than when an
Yes.
engineer draws a
Yeah.
plan.
Exactly, yeah. And then it'll get reviewed again at the Simpson County side. So, and that retention, if somebody comes in, they'll hire an engineer and he'll do all these calculations and then he'll have to share that with the county engineer. And they're going to have to agree that this is going to help that problem. It's not going to cause any more problem.
Whenever I looked at the map, and that's where we're going back to this map, that was my concern. 'Cause I thought that map was what you was going to be doing.
No.
That was the development, that was the building, that was what you was planning on doing. So when it was showing the retention for that building and nothing in Simpson County for retention, then I was seeing all the water coming from Tennessee, coming into Kentucky, and that's where it was going, my concern was it was going to flood the road more
Right.
than you, but now you're saying that the map is scrapped,
Right.
and you're not even, you don't even know what kind of building, what kind of
This may not
stuff, what
sell.
kind of
Yeah, this-
retention it's even going to be, don't know nothing, it's just,
This might sell next month, and it might not sell in 10 years. It's, as you know, the economy's down, so I haven't had a call in 2 years on industrial property. I'm just trying to get the pieces put together, so if someone does show up, I can say this is available, and here would be a wonderful place for retention and truck parks.
Well, I think, Amanda, your question is, would the court reconsider this? I can put that question to the court. Obviously, we've had the discussion. You were talking about 10 years. I'm sitting at almost 14, and I think Marty's sitting at about 18 years now. Typically, recommendations from the planning and zoning do get approved, because they're the ones that had the hearing and so on and so forth.
Well, I've done made a motion to pass this twice, and I ain't got it,
Is-
and it hasn't passed. So I'll vote for it, but
Gentlemen,
somebody else will make a
do y'all
motion in
have
a
other
second.
questions, or do you?
As long as we got safeguards in that will contain the water, so that we're not the recipients of a lot of water, I don't have a problem. Period.
I'm good.
that was my main concern was the water, so I mean, if it's, I'm good. if
Pam,
it's-
would the ordinance number have changed? Have we done anything since then that would change that ordinance number? I don't, you think we may have? I get, so am I hearing that the court is good to move on this if we get an ordinance number that's correct?
Yeah,
Just for the record, can we have a formal vote on the record?
We will have a vote. I just have to have I just have to make sure that we have a proper ordinance number before I can even call for a vote. Because we assign ordinance numbers in sequence as we pass them, and just don't recall if, since this one didn't get passed, has this number already been assigned to the next ordinance, and would we need to assign a different number?
Thank you for that.
Thank you for having me and listening. Thanks.
thank you a lot.
I just wish that we would know this, scrap this was not the original. Ahead of time, we didn't know,
It's intended as a concept and concept.
well, we didn't know, I didn't know as a concept, I was just looking at it as a,
As a final.
Yeah.
Well, they're not gonna send final.
well, I
Planning
mean,
and zoning stuff up here.
Just gonna see what number
And just-
one was.
We always give deference to the planning and zoning, but,
Or you need a date.
and you're right,
Yeah, what
rarely
number?
is this
Oh, that was.
us or the city, not gone along with it, but
Ma'am, I don't
The
see
ultimate
another
decision-
ordinance on a meeting in August. I do not see another ordinance on either August meeting.
ultimately it comes to this body, and if the body doesn't have the
What was
authority,
the ordinance?
we have the authority to say no, so I mean,
You went
that's,
back
just
to
because we
the-
don't, doesn't mean we can or we shouldn't on occasion. Obviously, if the information changes, we can always reconsider.
On August 6th, we had a second reading of a zone change, so that one would have already had a zone, a number assigned. On August 20th, we did not have any zone change ordinances at all.
And Sam, in this case, the issues were
so
already
this is our
discussed at planning and
September 3rd
zoning before it
meeting.
ever come here.
I understand, but just, there's a reason we have to vote
Right.
for it. We don't necessarily, we're not required to rubber stamp what planning
True.
and zoning does.
The 125, 920, the 125.
125.
know without-
According to our portal and our agenda, we've not had anything that would have taken that number.
Okay.
So gentlemen, if y'all are so inclined to reconsider, we would just need a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 920.125. This is a zone change, this would be first reading of a zone change ordinance for this property out on Witt and Cal Harris Road from Ag to I-2.
So moved.
I got a motion by Myron.
Second.
Got a second by Scott. Pam, we'll do a roll call on the zone change ordinance.
Myron Thurman.
Yes.
Scott Poston.
Yes.
Marty Chandler.
Yes.
Jeffrey Burr.
Yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank y'all for coming.
Yeah, thank you for coming to explain. Appreciate that.
See you.
All right. Gentlemen, on the portal is the extension district tax rates. We need to have a motion and a second to acknowledge that we've received those rates from the district. And I think the reason that we just acknowledge receiving them is because they've taken the compensating rate and made no change. I think the legislature requires us to approve rate changes if they take anything other than that. If I'm correct. Is that correct, Sam?
I don't even think we approve, I think we just acknowledge it.
We would have to approve them if they take anything other than their compensating rate.
Okay.
Basically, all you're doing is accepting what they're
That was a change
doing.
in the legislative action. If y'all remember, we had conferences where we had to vote on whether we wanted to do it, and I was telling people, y'all are going to get something you don't want. You're going to get something you don't want. Because now the rate change will be hung on us instead of the board, but, any rate.
So you need a motion?
We just need a motion and a second to acknowledge receiving the extension district tax rate because it is the compensating rate and unchanged from last year. Got a motion by Jeffrey?
Second.
Second by Scott. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, the minutes of our August 20th court meeting. We need a motion and a second to approve those minutes as presented.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty.
Second.
Second by Myron. Any question, discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will abstain.
Got one. Okay, we have one abstention due to absence. Next is the second reading and then final passage of fiscal year 24-25 budget amendment ordinance number 220.258. We had our first reading at a previous meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
You're
I
gonna
have
need
to
to,
do
Oh,
you're gonna do a roll call. Or
that's right, I'm
separate.
sorry.
Marty Chandler.
Yes.
Jeffrey Burr.
Yes.
Scott Poston.
Yes.
Myron Thurman.
Yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes. All right. Next would be, if you had a chance to review this employee resolution, we need a motion and a second to approve employee resolution 2024-09-03 EMP-FSFR. This is for a couple of firefighters that had got some certification in swift water level 2.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Marty. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, Bobby Groves so graciously agreed to serve a one-year term on this Inspector Appeals Board. And he served-
Just 3 years.
I know, he served his 1 year.
Oh.
Because when we appointed 3 people and we appointed them in alternating times, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and Bobby took the 1 year appointment, and now he so graciously agreed to take a full 3 year
He
appointment,
needed another job.
which would be, well, I don't think y'all met, what, twice in 1 year? And this is a board that only meets if there is a question to a inspector's report or determination. But this will be a 3-year term beginning September 1 of '24 through August 31 of '26. I just need a motion and a second to approve that appointment.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question, discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Now, gentlemen, we need a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2024-09-03 RBG drainage and enter into an agreement and authorize the judge to assign that agreement associated with this resolution. And this is a resolution to enter an agreement with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for their 80-20 match, bridge match. It would be 80%. The state would provide 80% of the funding up to $80,000. If it goes beyond $80,000, then we're responsible for anything over that. But this is the replacement of the drainage structure on Roby Bethel Grove Road.
So moved.
Got a motion by Jeffrey,
Second.
second by Marty. Any question, discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
You know, used to in years past, you could roll that money. If you didn't have a project 1 year, you could roll it and have 160 the next year. They won't let you do that anymore.
Got it, use it or lose it.
Yep.
All right, next is budget transfers. We need a motion and a second to approve the budget transfers.
So moved.
Got a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next is cash transfers of $9,880.59. This is from the federal grant fund to the general fund. This is HIDA money that comes in. I need a motion and a second. Got a motion by Scott, a second by Myron. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And then the bills and claims, we need a motion and a second to approve those claims as presented.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. Any question, discussion about the claims? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, moving on to reports. Obviously, it's no action required, but it's on the portal for your review, the fiscal year 23 audit. It was a good audit. I think they deemed that they didn't find any findings or
No fraud.
no fraud, or as Misty would say, no frogs.
Yeah.
If y'all done training with her, you've heard her say that. Same stuff usually that we always get with the segregation of duties, because unfortunately we can't hire 6 or 8 people to work in the office. I mean, literally, right now there's 4 in the office. Honestly, I think it would take at least 6 to get what they would maybe deem past the segregation of duties. But
So what you're saying is we got 4 doing the work of at least 6.
I'm not going to go.
Michelle said yes.
I mean, do what?
Michelle said yes.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, yeah. I mean, to a degree. Okay, yes. Is that better?
I was trying to give y'all a shout out.
All right. We did meet with the design team and the Sunbelt Construction last week just to discuss the beginning stages of the county clerk building. So where we're at on that is the electrical main distribution panel is like a 35-week lead time. And that is the thing that would hold us up the most, but it doesn't necessarily have to go in till pretty close to the end. So you're talking about roughly a 34-week time frame to build, so a 35-week lead time on that. So we left last week with the understanding there to get that ordered. Get it ordered on the way. And the other thing, and this didn't really mean a lot to me, but I guess it would to people who know, but the bar joist and deck are about 3-month lead time and all that. So all of those things are being ordered. The plan is now to try to get actually started on site mid to late October. And they think that will put us in the time frame of the main distribution panel being here by the time they get ready to put it in and wrap up the last few weeks. That's pretty much where we're at on that. So it should be sometime mid to late October breaking ground over there on that. Don't forget, we have another meeting prior to this, but just so everybody will be aware and you can spread the word around, the annual Franklin Car Show here on the square will be this month, September 21st. Also, I need to ask y'all, we put the deadline for bids for the Neely Road culvert for this Friday, the 6th. We probably need to have a special called meeting Monday, the 9th, to award that bid, because Bobby had to close the road over the weekend because it fell at like, I guess a hole. How big was that hole that fell in?
The surface area is about 1 foot by 4 foot, but underneath that it's 2 foot by 16 foot.
Okay.
6 foot deep.
Yeah, so a hole actually fell in the road. So Bobby, they closed that. What'd y'all close it, Friday?
Saturday afternoon.
Saturday afternoon. So it's closed. Does anyone have a problem with a special called meeting Monday morning, the 9th?
Sam, we have to have a special call. We have to have a meeting to award the bid, right?
Yep.
We can't just authorize the judge to award the bid.
Nope.
Okay. I didn't think so, but I wanted to check.
No.
I'm fine with Monday morning if we're probably a 5-minute meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we can just do it the same time, 8:30 Monday morning. I mean, it should take a whopping 2 minutes.
I'm fine.
Everybody's good? All right, so Pam, we will do a special call meeting Monday, September 9th, 8:30 a.m. That's all I got. Marty, you got anything?
Yeah, since the last meeting, I had a guy call me, had a tree down across the road. I called Bobby, just want to say thank you to the Public Works, Road Department. Whenever I call, they get right on it, and I know they've been out in this hot weather. It's been kind of hard on them, and also for the fire department, I know those guys were wore out the other day when the grain elevator caught on fire, and they had to be down there fighting that the whole time, so. And with that, harvest season started, so if you see equipment on the road or see somebody with caution lights, which I don't understand why these guys with these lawnmower trailers that are the same width as a truck run caution lights in a parking lot. They'll stop and get gas and their caution lights are on, and it's just like nobody pays attention to caution lights anymore. So if you see something coming and you flag out the one with their lights on, there's a good chance there's a piece of farm equipment coming. Just don't want anybody to get hurt. That's all I got.
Marty, you brought up something that made me think about this. Chief Nelson, relay back to all of your guys that the owner of the grain company, I spoke with him that evening again after the fire. He was extremely complimentary of you and your guys, the work that y'all done. Yeah, you can come up. But he had high praise and wanted me to pass along for you to let all of your guys know.
And tell Auburn, thank you for letting us use their fire truck too.
Yeah,
Yeah, all I know is gonna cover my report. This is a good time, so I just want to say thank you to a lot of people in our community. The Sheriff's Department has got involved over some water. Eric's guys over at the jail, they're also waters, Gatorade, and let us use some of his folks to help get our trucks loaded back up and service the big yellow hoses. So we greatly do appreciate that. Yeah, I just want to thank our folks. It was about a 14-hour day, and it was, right at 100 degrees all day. Everybody did a wonderful job. EMS stayed with us the entire day, there for rehab and whatnot. City law enforcement helped us, block streets. Public Works, brought cones and all that. And we do greatly appreciate all that because we, those are all some of the things that happen behind the scenes that folks don't realize, and then we don't, necessarily have the manpower to take care of ourselves. But yes, Auburn, I've reached out to them. We do appreciate that. They brought over their truck. It is a 105-foot aerial, so, ours is 75, and it did help, having a little bit of extra length there. And then I probably have forgot some folks. I apologize, but we did put out a thing on Facebook, to
And I know, Chief, I know one of the biggest concerns when I was down there that morning was the possibility that bin could collapse.
Sure.
But y'all were able to keep that structure up.
Well, it was upright when we left. I haven't been back.
It still is.
Okay. Yeah, it was just,
It did
it's a tough
wrinkle it up,
deal.
though.
It don't look too prominent, they can't use it no more.
I said they're gonna have to take it apart.
Yeah, grain dryer fires they're tricky to begin with. It's when the heat, swells the corn or whatever's in it, and then it gets caught in the inverters and doesn't want to come out. And then, if you guys are familiar, that access to that particular grain dryer is just, virtually non-existent. But
Well,
yeah,
it's better to take it down when you want to instead of coming down
sure,
when it wants to.
sure, absolutely. But
All right. Well, anyway, Randy was very complimentary of you guys. He
Well, we
wanted me to
appreciate
pass
that.
that along to all of you.
And one other thing with that, with the small, I know the jailer was over there talking about, we didn't know about inmates in jail. The jailer and emergency management, you all need to work, make sure you have both of you are on the same page as far as an evacuation plan in case that jail needs to be evacuated, where everybody, it's going to take several to get, in case that were to have to happen. So just make sure you two are on the same page, you know what's going on. And that's because if a rail car was to derail down there or something, it could be it's going to be bad quick and in a hurry if something major like it were to happen.
yeah, I will say on that note, very, very early on, within the first few minutes, Eric he was there and reached out to me and wanted to offer any kind of assistance, but to try to check on his folks to see if there was anything that they needed to be doing in place. There was concern of possible, dust explosions or, whatever, but I believe he did tell me you had buses. He was already on that. He had buses lined up and, some kind of evacuation plan in place. And at the time, I didn't really think dust explosion, at that time was too much of a concern, at that point, or, we would have certainly implemented that, but
Well,
anyway.
he told me he had that too, but I was
Sure.
just saying emergency
Oh, yeah,
management needs
yeah.
to be, everybody needs to be
Absolutely.
2 or 3 on the same page on
Yeah,
that.
we do, and in the past, we've sat down and done the tabletop exercises, especially, and again, it's been some years ago, but one big concern that we always had was that our dispatch was right there. And for that exact scenario, where we run those scenarios where you have, the railroads, our main dispatch center is there, not only, in the jail. You're talking about mass evacuations, but then how do we even communicate? So then we had to start building all these fail-safes in place to where, we're, transfer to, a KSP post dispatch or, something somewhere else. But yeah, you're absolutely correct, as far as those plans and stuff go. We do review those from time to time, but it probably is a good time to sit down and, we probably don't do it often enough.
Right.
Chief, I'll
Yes,
get
sir.
back to the magistrates in just a minute, but while you're up here, so I don't have to call you back
Sure.
up for a report later. I've had a couple people, but really only a couple, call about burn bans, and I don't know what communities around us are doing, but
Yeah.
just kind of just speak to the community on
Sure.
what they need to be doing, and because it is still kind of dry.
It is very dry. Yeah, we've had this up this morning, as a matter of fact. We were anticipating catching some of that rain, and we got none of it virtually. The northern part, I think, Woodburn might have caught a smidge, but virtually we did not get any kind of rain. So I would, obviously, we've not issued a burn ban yet. I think that's something we will have to. I've been monitoring the weather, checking on that. It is some cooler temperatures, which is going to help some. We're not to the point where I feel like we just need to immediately do it, but, we may be there within a week or so if we do not get any
Because
kind
I
of
explained to the
significant
people
rain.
that called me that I don't just automatically just issue them, that
Sure.
usually I do it on recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we will see, like, a lot of the communities around us did get rain. So they're probably not going to issue those burn bans, so we may end up doing that, and, we may be the only ones, but, that's okay. We're going to do what's best for Simpson County. But if you are burning, just please make sure you exercise proper safeguards, have a water with you or some way to extinguish that fire. Stay with it, the entire time that you are burning. And we ask that you call our dispatch center and, let them know that you are going to be burning. Their number is 270-782-2010, and that's KSP Post 3. And if you're in the city limits, as always, you are required to get a burn permit. And you can get those free of charge. You can call us at the stations, 270-586-7174.
And it's not really legal to burn anything open other than natural vegetation.
So natural
correct?
vegetation, and those are not, those are not local laws, those are state laws. The EPA, Division of Air Quality, those folks are the ones that are, dictating that. So, don't get mad at me when I tell you it's technically illegal to burn a barn down that fell on your property 40 years ago. I didn't make the rules, but I'm just, all I can do is advise folks, what the law says. We don't do any kind of law enforcement, but.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, guys. I
Thank
appreciate you.
All right, I'll get back on it. Jeffrey?
Just thank you for the fire department and everything. Just be safe. Watch farm equipment.
Scott?
No, I'm good.
Counselor?
Pay your taxes for the sale.
Sheriff, you have anything?
No, sir.
Mr. Clerk, you have anything? Mr. Jailer, you have anything? John? Go ahead.
What we talked about last week about boosting the state limits, we'll ask all the time. It's happening.
Okay. John, anything planning and zoning? Bob, anything emergency management? Bobby, anything else with the road department?
Question.
Okay.
The
Do you need to be on the microphone?
I don't think so. The motion of the Roby Bethel 80/20, does that include authorizing to put out advertise for bids for that project?
I guess we probably do need to back up and do that. All we authorized was a resolution to enter into the agreement and authorize my signature on the agreement. But I guess we do need to back up and authorize bids for the Roby Bethel Grove Road drainage replacement. So I need a motion and a second to do that. Got a motion by Scott to authorize putting that to bid. Do we have a time frame we want to have it in?
I don't, unless you have to have one, I would just say whatever the advertisement works out.
Okay.
It's not as desperate as the Neely Road project.
Do we have to have an advertisement deadline date? Well, hang on just a second.
Have you got a second yet?
Not yet.
I'll second.
So we got a motion by Scott and a second by Marty. We can't, there's no way we can do a bid and have it back in and get it advertised and have it back in before our meeting on the 20th. So I would just say, the meeting on the 17th, I would just say that we get it back
The
by the
27th, we give them 2 weeks after it's advertised.
Yeah, I was thinking even the 20th or the 27th. Which one do you
It
prefer?
won't be able to go in April 12th.
So let's advertise that bids must be submitted by the 10 a.m. on the 27th. Is that good? Scott, are you
I'm
good with
good,
that
yes.
being on your
I'm good.
motion? Marty, you're good with
I'm
that?
fine with that.
Okay. All right, all in favor, aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you, Bobby. We kind of overlooked that part. All right, gentlemen, I do need a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810, paragraph 1C, discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of a public agency, and paragraph F, discussions which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty, second by Jeffrey. All in favor, aye. Hang on, hang on. We had a motion by Marty, a second by Jeffrey to come out of executive session. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Give me just a second here. All right, now I need a motion and a second to authorize employee resolution number 2024-09-03 EMP-MAINT.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty. Second. Second by Scott. Any question or discussion on that? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Now all I need is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Jeffrey. Second by, was that you, Scott?
Yes.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.